Gender-based violence refers to any harmful act that is perpetrated against a person based on their perceived gender identity. This type of violence can take many forms, including physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological abuse. It affects individuals of all genders, but women and girls are disproportionately affected. Gender-based violence is a serious human rights violation, and has a lasting impact on its victims, including increased risk of physical and mental health problems, poverty, and decreased ability to participate fully in society. Addressing gender-based violence requires a multifaceted approach, including changing social norms and attitudes, providing support and resources to victims, and holding perpetrators accountable. There are various underlying causes of gender-based violence, which can be broadly grouped into three categories: cultural and social norms, gender inequality, and discriminatory attitudes towards women and girls are often deeply rooted in cultural and social norms. These attitudes can perpetuate the belief that violence against women is acceptable, and can result in a culture of silence and lack of accountability for perpetrators. Power imbalances. Gender-based violence is often used as a means of maintaining and exerting power and control over individuals and communities. Women and girls may be targeted because they are seen as vulnerable, and men may use violence as a means of asserting dominance and control. Structural factors. Structural factors, such as poverty, lack of education, and limited access to resources, can increase the vulnerability of individuals to gender-based violence. In conflict-affected areas, displacement and breakdown of social systems can also increase the risk of violence. It's important to note that these causes are interrelated and often reinforce each other, creating a vicious cycle of violence that is difficult to break. Addressing gender-based violence requires a holistic approach that addresses these underlying causes at all levels. Reducing and eliminating gender-based violence requires a multifaceted approach that addresses the underlying causes and provides support to victims. Some strategies that can help reduce and prevent gender-based violence include changing cultural and social norms, challenging and changing attitudes that perpetuate gender inequality and condone violence against women and girls is critical. This can be achieved through education and public awareness campaigns, as well as by promoting gender-sensitive media and popular culture. Empowering women and girls. Providing women and girls with education, economic opportunities, and access to resources can help to reduce their vulnerability to violence and increase their ability to protect themselves. Holding perpetrators accountable. Criminalizing gender-based violence and holding perpetrators accountable through the justice system is important for deterring future acts of violence and providing a sense of justice for victims. Providing support to victims. Providing comprehensive support to survivors of gender-based violence, including access to medical and psychological care, legal assistance, and safe shelter, is critical for their physical and emotional recovery. Strengthening systems and institutions. Ensuring that institutions, such as the police and healthcare systems, are equipped to respond effectively to gender-based violence and support survivors is important. This includes training personnel, improving reporting systems, and ensuring that laws and policies are effectively implemented. It's important to note that these strategies need to be tailored to local cultural and political contexts and must involve the active engagement of all members of society, including men and boys. In order to be effective, the government has an important role to play in addressing gender-based violence. Some of the key ways in which the government can address this issue include enacting and enforcing laws. The government can play a crucial role in criminalizing gender-based violence and ensuring that perpetrators are held accountable. This includes passing and enforcing laws that specifically address gender-based violence, as well as ensuring that existing laws are used to prosecute perpetrators. Providing support to victims. The government can provide essential support to survivors of gender-based violence, including access to medical and psychological care, legal assistance, and safe shelter. This can help to ensure that survivors are able to access the support they need to recover from their experiences. Investing in prevention and education. The government can invest in prevention and education initiatives aimed at changing attitudes and promoting gender equality. This can include funding public awareness campaigns, providing gender-sensitive education in schools, and supporting community-based organizations working to prevent gender-based violence. Strengthening institutions. The government can work to strengthen institutions, such as the police and healthcare systems, that are responsible for responding to gender-based violence. This can include providing training and resources to personnel, improving reporting systems, and ensuring that laws and policies are effectively implemented. Addressing root causes. The government can play a key role in addressing the underlying structural factors that contribute to gender-based violence, such as poverty, lack of education, and limited access to resources. This can include implementing policies and programs that address these root causes and create a safer and more equal society for all. It's important to note that the government's role in addressing gender-based violence is not limited to these specific actions, but also involves taking a leadership role in promoting gender equality and ending violence against women and girls. The measures taken to address gender-based violence vary from country to country and depend on the resources and political will available. Some common approaches include legal measures. Many countries have enacted laws to criminalize gender-based violence and provide protections for survivors. Support services. This can include hotlines, shelters, and counseling services for survivors of gender-based violence. Education and awareness. Programs to educate the public on the issue of gender-based violence and how to prevent it. Prevention programs. Efforts to prevent gender-based violence before it occurs, such as by addressing cultural attitudes and gender norms that support violence. Research and data collection. Gathering data on the extent and nature of gender-based violence can inform policies and programs aimed at addressing the issue. Despite these measures, gender-based violence remains a widespread and persistent problem, and much more needs to be done to eliminate it. In conclusion, gender-based violence is a pervasive and complex issue that affects individuals and communities around the world. It takes many forms, including physical, sexual, and psychological violence, and can have devastating impacts on the lives of those who experience it. Addressing gender-based violence requires a comprehensive and sustained effort from governments, civil society organizations, and individuals. This must include legal measures, support services for survivors, education and awareness programs, prevention programs, and research and data collection. While progress has been made in some countries, much remains to be done to eliminate gender-based violence and ensure that all individuals can live free from fear and violence.